మాకు టైం లేదు అసలు దాన్ని చెప్తారా? ఇన్‌స్టాగ్రామ్ అండ్ వాట్సాప్ ఇవి యూజ్ చేయడానికి టైం లేదు. ఇంకెక్కడ వీటి గురించి అంతా మేము ఎక్కడ ఎక్స్‌ప్లోర్ చేస్తాం, ఎక్కడ టచ్ చేస్తాం. ఈస్ ఇట్ యువర్ ఆన్సర్? So great. So we can jump into this just for fun. Don't take it serious. Okay. Great. So link this now. T15.css. Great. So today, grid. So grid is similar to the flexbox. So grid also use it for the responsive. So what is the main difference between grid and flexboxes? Grid is an 1D. 1D stands for one dimensional, where column is grid concept is 2D, which is nothing but two directional. So in grid we have columns and rows. Even in this flexbox also we have in the columns and rows, but we won't focus that much on the rows and columns. We usually mention flex direction row or column, but when we coming to the grid concept, it's entirely depends on the columns and rows. So grid is very important, and so the main purpose of the grid is to make the website more responsive and more attractive. Okay, but Flex is one of the best concept in the entire CSS to make any website more responsive. Even when you compare with the grid concept, the Flex is one of the best concept to make any website, any template more responsive. But when coming to the grid, that is, it will not that much support. It will not do that much supposed to do the responsive website. But if you're preparing any gallery, so let me show you that our demonstration. You might get an awareness about it. Great. So let's take div called container. Just give me a minute. Yes, div called container. So in that container, take some cards here. Card. Okay. Just keep it like this. Let's mention here. Which one? Hi. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste this for 6 times. 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is it 6 times? Yes. So let me try to see that an output. Yes, it is looking like this. This is the output of that. Okay, great. Now go here, set this margin 0, padding 0, border 0. Great. Now let's take some container. Background. Let's take some color. Great. We got the stuff. So now let's focus on the card. Let's take height 300 pixels, width 300 pixels. Background, let's take the red color. Okay, this is how it will look. This is how it will look one by one. Now we need to apply some grid concept to the container. Observe carefully. Display grid. So by ఇంతకు ముందు ఏం చేస్తున్నాం మనం ఇక్కడ డిస్ప్లే దగ్గర ఫ్లెక్స్ పెడుతూ ఉన్నాం, isn't it? ఇక్కడ మనం ఫ్లెక్స్ యూస్ చేస్తున్నాం. అప్పుడు ఏమవుతుందంటే ఫ్లెక్స్ ప్రాపర్టీస్ అప్లై అవ్వడానికి హెల్ప్ అవుతుంది ఫ్లెక్స్ ప్రాపర్టీ అనేది, ఈ డిస్ప్లే ఫ్లెక్స్ అనేది. నౌ ఇట్స్ టైమ్ టు యూస్ ది గ్రిడ్ కాన్సెప్ట్. సో నౌ యూ నీడ్ టు యూస్ display grid. Now grid template columns, repeat one. Let's take 3, 1 F4. I will tell you, don't worry. Did you observe? Okay, let me put some gap here. Let's take 30 pixels. Great. Observe carefully. So my requirement is, so యాక్చువల్లీ ఈ ఇంటర్వ్యూలో కూడా కొన్ని క్వశ్చన్స్ అడిగాం దీని రిలేటెడ్ గా. సో ఫ్లెక్స్ లో మనకి ఈ యొక్క పాసిబిలిటీ ఉండదు. ఏంటి అంటే సి, దిస్ ఇస్ అ రిక్వైర్మెంట్. నా యొక్క రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఏంటి? ఫస్ట్ రోలో, రో అంటే హారిజెంటల్, కాలం అంటే వర్టికల్. అబ్జర్వ్ కేర్ఫుల్లీ, దిస్ ఇస్ అ రో అండ్ దిస్ ఇస్ కాలం. ఓకే, గ్రేట్. సో ఫస్ట్ నాకు రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఏంటి అంటే నాకు 3 కార్డ్స్ ఉండాలి. ఫస్ట్ రోలో 3 కార్డ్స్ ఉండాలి. అదే విధంగా సెకండ్ రోలో 3 కార్డ్స్ ఉండాలి. టోటల్ 6 కార్డ్స్, ఇజంట్ ఇట్? సో we can do that. For example, I want 4 కార్డ్స్ ఇన్ అ రో. అంటే ఏం చేస్తామంటే ఇక్కడ రిపీట్ ఉంది చూసారా, రిపీట్ దగ్గర 4 యూజ్ చేస్తాం. నా అబ్జర్వ్, ఐ గాట్ 4 కార్డ్స్ ఇన్ అ రో, isn't it? And this is remaining chords. Don't worry about this. But our requirement is we need a 4 chords in a row. We got this. If you are required a 5 chords, then you can mention 5 chords. So see, it will become 5 chords. It will become 5. I know it is overflowing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 3, 4, 5. Total 5 chords we got. Right? This is how it will work actually. So the main thing is, in Flexbox, we don't have this feature. Which feature? You can't able to specifically take this many of cards in a specific row. అంటే ఫ్లెక్స్బాక్స్ యూజ్ చేసినప్పుడు నాకు ఇన్ని కాలం, ఇన్ని బాక్సెస్ నాకు ఫస్ట్ రోలో కావాలని మనం కండిషన్ ఇవ్వలేం. అర్థమవుతుందా చెప్పేది? సో ఏంటి అంటే ఫ్లెక్స్ బాక్స్ లో మనం నాకు ఫస్ట్ రోలో 3 కాలమ్స్ కావాలి, సారీ 3 కార్డ్స్ కావాలి, 4 కార్డ్స్ కావాలని మనం మెన్షన్ చేయలేం. ఫ్లెక్స్ కాన్సెప్ట్ దానికి సపోర్ట్ చేయదు. దట్ ఈస్ ద మెయిన్ డిసడ్వాంటేజ్ ఆఫ్ ది ఫ్లెక్స్ కాన్సెప్ట్. బట్ వెన్ కమింగ్ టు దిస్ గ్రిడ్ కాన్సెప్ట్, the grid concept will support, so based on our requirement. For example, if you want only 2 columns in the sense 2 products in a row. Now observe carefully, 1 2 1 2 1 2. So we got total 6 products. This is how actually it will work, the grid concept. అర్థమవుతుందా? సో మీరు అడగచ్చు దీనివల్ల మనకి ఏంటి యూస్ అనేసి. సో ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, లెట్స్ try to design some card here. So basically yesterday we designed some product page, right? So we can just do the same thing. So instead of the flex concept, you can try to apply the grid concept. So ఇక్కడ ఏం చేస్తున్నామంటే గ్రిడ్ కాన్సెప్ట్ అప్లై చేస్తున్నాం. సో క్లయింట్ యొక్క రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఏంటి అంటే, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మీరు ఒకరికి వెబ్సైట్ డిజైన్ చేస్తున్నారు, అర్థమవుతుందా? ఆ వెబ్సైట్ కి వాళ్ళు ఏమంటున్నారంటే రెస్టారెంట్ వెబ్సైట్ అనుకుందాం. ఆ ఒక రెస్టారెంట్ వెబ్సైట్ కి వాళ్ళకి రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఏంటి అంటే, ఐ వాంట్ 6 ప్రోడక్ట్స్, అంటే 6 ఫుడ్ ఐటమ్స్ ప్రతి ఒక్క రోలో కనబడాలి. అంటే ఈ రో తీసుకుంటే, ఫస్ట్ రో తీసుకుంటే ఇక్కడ 6 ఐటమ్స్ ఉండాలి తనకి, 1 by 1, 1 after 1, 6 ప్రోడక్ట్స్, 6 ఐటమ్స్ అనేది ఉండాలి. సెకండ్ రోలో 6 ఐటమ్స్ ఉండాలి. వెన్ కమింగ్ టు థర్డ్ రో, హీ వాంట్ 5 ఐటమ్స్. సో ఆ విధంగా మనం కస్టమైజేషన్స్ చేసుకోవచ్చు దీంతో. When we talk about the customization, so when I say customizations, it's all about how many columns you want and how many rows you want. You can decide that. So for example, you can also use here rows. For example, see here, this is how it will work. When you use a rows, it's different. When you use a column, it's different. So this is how the row will work. For example, if you use a 4, so what happening is here, in some cases, the grid template rows will not support to the box or container. It's all about this one. What is that? Columns. So మనం మెయిన్గా కాలమ్స్ మీద ఫోకస్ చేస్తాం, బికాస్ కస్టమర్స్ కి కాలమ్స్ మీద ఎక్కువ ఫోకస్ ఉంటుంది అనమాట. నాకు ఇన్ని ప్రొడక్ట్స్ కావాలి ఫస్ట్ రోలో, సో నాకు కాలమ్స్ ఇన్ని ఉండాలనేసి. అర్థమవుతుందా? కాలమ్స్ ఇస్ నథింగ్ బట్ ద నెంబర్ ఆఫ్ ప్రొడక్ట్స్ యూ వాంట్ టు ప్లేస్ ఇన్ ద ఫస్ట్ రో. At the same time, the number of products you want to place in the second row. That's how the columns defines. Okay. So let's take repeat. So here repeat is a function. Repeat is a kind of function which is used to define number of columns you want to repeat, and one FR is nothing but a gap. Let's suppose see here 3 comma ఇక్కడ 2 parameters ఉంటాయి. సింటాక్స్ రాస్తాను చూడండి ఒకసారి. And then gap. This is the syntax of the grid column template. Sorry, grid template columns. This is the basic syntax. ఇక్కడ ఏంటి అంటే repeat is a kind of function which is having two parameters. The first parameter is number of columns you want in a row. The same time, second parameter is gap. For example, I want three columns. So right now I have a one column in one column, right? ఒక్కొక్క product ఉంది. Now I want two products in each row. So sorry, three products in each row. So what I will do is I will mention three because I want three columns. అంతే కదా. సో ఒక్కొక్క ప్రొడక్ట్ ఒక్కొక్క కాలమ్ లో ఉంటుంది. ఫస్ట్ ప్రోడక్ట్ ఇక్కడ ఉంటుంది, సెకండ్ ప్రోడక్ట్ ఇక్కడ ఉంటుంది, థర్డ్ ప్రోడక్ట్ ఇక్కడ ఉంటుంది. సో ఇట్ మీన్స్ త్రీ కాలమ్స్. So and gap, how much gap you want there. So for example, I want 500 pixels between each one. So let's assume this is how it will look. So the gap between this columns is called a 500 pixels. It's nothing but one FR. So we can they mention technically one FR. So but we can also mention in a pixels also, no problem, we will get that. Similarly here we have row gap and column gap also available. So when we talk about the row gap, for example, I'm increasing to 100 pixels. So the gap is increasing here in between the rows, not in between the columns. In between the first row and second row, the gap is increasing. Observe here carefully, exactly here, observe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase to 300. See, automatically the gap is increasing in between the first row and second row. This is a row gap. So if you specifically, if you want a gap between column gap, let's assume. So here's column gap. Let's take 200 pixels. This is the actual gap before refreshing. I'm refreshing the page. Now see, I got gap between each column is 200 pixels. This is how we can specifically, we can divide or we can specifically mention the row and column gaps. Or else if you want the same gap, let's assume you want a same gap, you don't want to mention it's a row or column gap. If you want to mention same gap, then you can simply use like gap. Let's take 100 pixels or 200 pixels, whatever it may be. Then what will happen is you will get a same gap. So ఇక్కడ మనకేమవుతుందంటే ఇక్కడ సేమ్ గ్యాప్ అనేది వస్తుంది అనమాట. ఎనీవేస్ దర్ విల్ బి రిఫ్లెక్ట్ ఇన్ దిస్ గ్యాప్. ఇక్కడికి డిఫరెన్స్ ఉంటుంది. వై? బికాస్ దిస్ వన్, ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, ఇఫ్ యూ యూస్ 0 pixels, now what will happen is automatically it will combine. It means collapse. We can say it as merge. At least you should put one FR, which is nothing but, let's assume 300 pixels. So now these two gaps will be mostly similar. అర్థమవుతుందా? So if you want a specific row gap, then you can mention row gap property. If you want a specific column, then you can specific column gap, you can mention column gap. Or else if you want a gap, it's a normal gap, means that normal gap will work on both column and row. అర్థమవుతుందా? మీరు స్పెసిఫిక్ గా రో అని మెన్షన్ చేస్తే రో మీద గ్యాప్ అనేది ఇంపాక్ట్ అవుతుంది. అదే కాలమ్ మెన్షన్ చేస్తే కాలమ్ మీద గ్యాప్ ఇంపాక్ట్ అవుతుంది. బట్ ఇఫ్ యూ మెన్షన్ నార్మల్ గ్యాప్, సో వాట్ విల్ హ్యాపన్? Both, it will impact on both row and column. That is how actually the grid concept will work. This is the basic understanding of the grid. అర్థమవుతుందా? So but most of the cases we use flexbox. Rare cases we use grid, but you should have some awareness about the grid concept. It is also important. So then we have another concept which is nothing but media queries. Okay, which is a final concept. We can say maybe I missed something. Oh, let's see. If I miss something in the CSS, we can learn in this process. Maybe once we enter into the JavaScript, definitely we will come into the CSS again. Maybe I don't know whether I missed or not. I'm not sure that much, but let me tell you if I missed anything. Okay. Yes. Any doubt for it? So do you have any doubt regarding this? I know we learned very basics of grid. So you will also learn in depth of the grid concept. So if you are designing some new templates using grid concept, so you can try to design some product page. Yesterday someone, I think Reddy Prasad, I think so, he sent yesterday's assignment, which is really, it's looking Awesome. That's how he did the yesterday's assignment. The hover effects, the alignment of the products. That's really looking like a real-time e-commerce website. One of the person, I think he is from a Siddharth Institute of Science and Technology, which is in a Puttur. Maybe he's from third year CSC, I think so. So he did really excellent job. That's looking exactly. I wanted after seeing that. So it's all about practice and how much efforts you're putting in it, right? I just mentioned a few requirements, but he did awesome job. Great. And then yes, so for grid, this is a basic things. Okay. So now it's time to go to this another concept called flexbox, sorry, media queries. So already you might have an awareness because I already used 2 3 times this media queries concept in our process. Yes, we have a grid, multiple properties, grid area. So we have a multiple properties because I don't want to go into the depth. It might take a lot of time. So this is the basic things you need to learn: grid, display grid, grid template, columns, gap. There's the major things, major properties we use on a daily basis. But when we talk about the grid area, see, when I mention a grid, you will get this many of options. This all related to grid. Everything is related to grid. See, grid area, grid column, grid row, grid auto flow, auto rows. This is all related to grid. But it's not that, I don't think it take a lot of time to explain all this stuff. So, but my intention is we use on a daily basis, we use this grid template columns, grid gaps, and column gaps, and this display grid. Most of the cases we used to, this kind of things only. But we have n number of steps. Not only this, if I mention flex, on a flex also we have flex wrap, flex grow string, basis, flow, align, and this flex flow. See, we have this n number of things. So it's all about you can explore this. uh I'm gonna share you one more website with you. You can also go through it. I think you might have an awareness about it, this W3 schools. So there they will provide a clear picture of everything, so you can have a trial with it. So you can also have had an hands-on experience in their website. So they use multiple properties. You can get an hands-on experience like how it is actually working. So why? Because in a sessions it's not possible to cover all properties. So actually it's 2 weeks of time, or 1.5 week. Within 1.5 week we should complete the HTML CSS concepts. But I'm taking more than 2 weeks extra today, I think so. So to complete this, why? Because I just want to make you to understand more better. It's not about completing the concepts, not about completing the syllabuses. It's all about how much you guys are understanding. So that's what I'm gonna you know thinking. So it is taking a lot of time. So that's why like the number 07, I'm not going to in a depth. But i'm but i'm sure I will definitely teach you if we use this concept in our project, definitely. Okay, great. But it's better to, you guys can explore internet, this one W3 schools. You can go through that and you can search for this grid concept. You will get multiples. I only taught you 3 things. No, only 4 5 properties in the grid related 4 5 properties. But there is nearly 7 to 8 properties are available. Still extra 4 to 5 properties are available. You can go through this grid, sorry, W3 schools, and you can explore that. You will get an hands-on experience and practical knowledge over there. Great. Now it's time to go to the media queries. See, the media queries, it's nothing but it's just a concept to make the website more responsive. When I mention more responsive, you might ask a question. So we already learned this a flexbox, right? It is used for a responsive website. It is used to build a responsive website. Then why should we need to learn this media queries again? Anyways, we are using flexbox, which is giving a responsive website. Again, why should we need to learn this media queries? You might have a question on this your mind, right? See, so when we talk about the responsive, even if you use a flexbox concept in some mobiles, let's take geophone. You're using, some people, you might use a geophone. In the geophone we have a browser, I think so. So if you open any website in that mobile phone, in the geophone, some alignment will not be that much good. Or else if you open the website in iPhone At the same time, you open website in some tabs. At the same time, you open website in some Android mobile, which is older version. Okay, let's take Sony and so on, so kind of mobile phones. So the website sometimes, very less cases, not exactly we can see, but very less rare cases, we can see the website overflowing, the clumsiness, this kind of stuff will be available. At the same time, mainly we need this media queries to set the image sizes and to change the some properties. Let me show you how the media queries will help us. This media queries is not only for the responsive, but the major thing is we use media queries for to change the properties. How it will done or how it will happen. Let me show you that. See, for example, this card having a background color red, right? So in mobiles, I want to make it as a blue color, assume. So what I will do is, so there is a keyword called media at the rate media max width 768 pixels. So what I will do is I will specifically mention card. So here I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to just change the background color. That's it. Background. Let's take a blue color. Now observe carefully. So this is a red color, right? When I use or when I open this in a small devices, this is small device. Let's assume this is iPhone, right? So let we open in iPhone 14 Pro Max or anything. It will become into a blue color. Don't worry about these alignments. Actually, it is overflow. It is not in responsive. Don't think about it. So assume that this are in blue color, isn't it? So that's how you can change. For example, observe here. It is in 320 pixels. The mobile is in 320 pixels, right? So observe here, the number is increasing here, 500. Now present, it is in 500. It is in 500. Assume here I mentioned 768 pixels. So here I'm going to change the number 768, right? So I'm going to mention 769. It will become red color. If I mention 8, automatically it will become blue color. For example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change one more thing. Again, I'm going to write media queries. You can write multiple media queries if there is no restriction for it. So what I will do is I will mention 500 pixels here. In 500 pixels, I want to change this blue color to, let's take green color. Assume in 500 pixels, I want this background to green color. Now, see, I'm going to change this number to 500. Now it changed to green color. If I mention 768 pixels again, it will become blue. If I mention 769, it will become red. Did you observe the changes? Very basic thing. For this purpose only, we'll mainly prefer to use this media queries concept. It's not only about the responsive. Of course, we use this media queries for responsive. So, for example, let me show you how we use for responsive. So let's take this one. I'm gonna show you. Just give me a second. Where it is? Yes. So let's assume. So now automatically what happens? Did you observe here? It is in alignment. Now there is no overflow. It is set to 1 by 1. Why? Because here we change that. In media queries, we mention that container grid template columns repeat one effort. Here we have repeat 3. So don't think about this. You can mention a pixels or one effort, whatever it may be, doesn't matter, right? So here we have a 3 columns. But I specifically mentioned in a mobiles, it means in 768 like pixels, whenever the size is, whenever the screen size is decreasing, observe carefully, I'm increasing the screen. See, it is changing and above, just observe the number. Whenever it is increasing the number, automatically it is becoming a red color along with, sorry, yes, 3 columns. 1, 2, 3. Whenever the size is decreasing, automatically it will become 1 column. Everything is one by one, and the color is blue color. If I compress it more, less than 500, if it is equals to 500 or less than 500, what will happen is it will become green color. At the same time, if you want to change this background yellow to some other color, so what you need to do is yellow, right? This you can change to here. Let's take background brown in 768 pixels. At the same time here, dot container background, let's take pink color. So now it is in pink color. Why? Because the number is equals to 500, which is nothing but the width is equals to 500. If I increase 1 pixel, observe, it will become brown color. If I decrease 1 pixel, if I mention 768 pixels, it will become brown, right? If I mention 769, it will become yellow color. Observe here. This is how the media queries will help us. This is a very basic understanding about the media queries, grid concept and media queries. So mainly the media queries will help us to make some properties, to make some changes in the mobile point of view. అర్థమవుతుందా? సో ఏ విధంగా అంటే మనం నావిగేషన్ బార్ డిజైన్ చేసాం, ఇజంట్ ఇట్? సో నావిగేషన్ బార్ మనకి సో పైన టాప్ లో మనకి ఈ హోమ్, అబౌట్, కాంటాక్ట్ సెక్షన్ ఇలాంటివన్నీ మనకి లోగో ఇవన్నీ కనబడతాయి. ఇప్పుడు మనం ల్యాప్టాప్ లో ఓపెన్ చేసినప్పుడు కానీ ఆర్ స్మార్ట్ టీవీస్ లో ఓపెన్ చేసినప్పుడు, ఇజంట్ ఇట్? అదే మన మొబైల్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూలో ఓపెన్ చేస్తే నావిగేషన్ బార్ మనకి పైన ఉండదు. ఇన్స్టెడ్ ఆఫ్ దట్, సో వి మెన్షన్ మెనూ ఐకాన్, అంటే త్రీ డాట్స్ కానీ ఈ విధంగా ఉంటుంది, త్రీ డాట్స్ కానీ ఆర్ ఎల్స్ త్రీ లైన్స్ కానీ ఉంటుంది. సో వెన్ వి క్లిక్ ఇట్, దెన్ ద మెనూ విల్ బి డిస్ప్లే, isn't it? Then only the navigation bar or the navigation items will be displayed. సో ఇక్కడ మనం మీడియా క్వెరీస్ యూస్ చేస్తాం. ఎలా అంటే, if for example same concept, you can use the same concept. So let's assume this is the navigation bar. Okay, so let's take a normal navigation here. Home, about. So here it is, home, about. So in mobile point of view, let's assume 14 Pro Max, it is looking like this, home and about. So if you take more than, let's take 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, there are 10 items. It will look like this. If you make it as a flex, so you can make style. Okay, you can mention here itself. So where it is, let's take here, or else, okay, let's take here. Navigation board design. So see, automatically it is clumsy, like we can say it as a clumsy. So let's take list style, none. Okay, so it is looking like this, right? So but in mobile point of view, it's not looking good, it is giving an overflow. This is giving an overflow. So in mobile point of view, I don't want to show this navigation bar in the top. So instead of that, what I will do is I will display the menu icon. So I will hide these options. So what I will do, simply media queries 768 pixels. So why I randomly mentioning 768 pixels means it is the basic of pixels where the mobile screen starts. అంటే మన ఒక మొబైల్ బేసిక్ మొబైల్ ఒక సైజ్ ఎక్కడ స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది అంటే 768 pixels తో స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది. అర్థమవుతుందా? ఆ విధంగా. Great. So now maximum width 768 pixels. Now it's time to hide the UL. Let's take display none. So we can mention display none. So what will happen? Observe here. So here we have a navigation bar, right? Let's assume I'm going to refresh this. So there is nothing. There is nothing. There is no navigation items. This is how. This is how we can do that. So now we can, once we enter into the JavaScript, then we can do on click events. Like when we click this menu icon, for example, let's assume there is a menu icon here. So you can do that. So you can add one menu icon here. Let's take dot menu icon. So let's take some image here. So or else you can do one thing. So sorry, go here, search for 5 icons, not this font ransom. So I'm going to show you one more thing here. So usually we have icons, right? Instagram icon, Facebook's, WhatsApp, this kind of icons we usually use in the websites, isn't it? You might wonder how these icons are getting, how these people are getting these icons, from where these people are getting these icons, right? You might wonder about it. So let me show you where we can get these icons. Just give me a minute. So we have a lot of platforms which are providing this kind of icons, but most of the peoples or most of the developers, they prefer to use this font tab and some icons, which is more familiar. So I don't know, it's still loading. We have a different platforms. No, it's taking too long. Okay, Leo, no problem, no problem. Definitely, I will give you this. So how these people are getting these icons and how they are inserting these icons in our websites. So everything I will give you a demonstration. Okay, don't worry about it. I don't know why it's taking that much of time to load this. Maybe due to some network issues, I don't know. Great, no worries. So what I'm gonna do is simple. I'm gonna place that icon here. I'm gonna place that. Let's assume class. I don't know whether it will work or not because we need to insert the, I don't know. Yes, it's not going to work out because we need to install or we need to link the libraries. So మామూలుగా మనం గూగుల్ ఫోన్స్ యాడ్ చేసాం చూసారా, గూగుల్ ఫోన్స్ యాడ్ చేసేప్పుడు ఏం చేసాం, గూగుల్ ఫోన్స్ వెబ్సైట్ అఫీషియల్ వెబ్సైట్కి వెళ్ళి అక్కడ లైబ్రరీస్ ఉండేది, ఇజంట్ ఇట్? ఆ లైబ్రరీస్ మనం ఇక్కడ హెడ్ లో మెన్షన్ చేసాం, కాపీ పేస్ట్ చేసాం. సిమిలర్లీ ఫర్ దిస్ ఫోన్స్ ఆల్సో, ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ టు యూజ్ ఎనీ ఎక్స్టర్నల్ font, we need, or external icons we can say, so we need to install or we need to link that libraries in our website, then only that libraries will support us. అర్థమవుతుందా? సో మనం యాక్చువల్గా ఇది యాక్చువల్గా గుడ్ సింటాక్స్ యాక్చువల్గా. సో ఫర్ స్పేస్ ఫర్ హైఫన్ అన్లాక్, బట్ ఇట్ విల్ నాట్ వర్క్. It will not give any icon now. Why? Because we are not giving any libraries here. So to do that, we need to go to this website. They will provide some CDN links, content delivery link, something kind of. So that link we need to provide in this header tag or else in the import tag. Then only it will work. So otherwise it will not give any output. Okay, but no problem. I don't know. It's taking a lot of time. So let's see. I will give one more demonstration tomorrow on this icons. So we can add multiple icons. So even in the font tab and some, we have two versions: premium version and free version. So I will show you the difference also. What is the basic difference between premium and free version? Okay, great. So here we can use this icon. So when we click on this, for example, let's assume there is an icon here, menu icon. When they click on this menu icon, then only we need to display that particular navigation bar. In that case, what we can do is, so by default we make it as a display none. That means that navigation bar will not appear on the top of the page. But once we enter into the JavaScript, we can write a condition. We can write, say, if else condition. So when they click on this particular, for example, when the users clicks the menu icon, so at the time only we need to display that navigation bar. If not, we need to hide. Or else we can say, if the user click on this, we need to display the output, I mean menu, else hide it. So simply we can say like that. However, if else condition రాస్తాం అన్నమాట. So for the JavaScript also, I will start from the basics itself, from variables and so on, so concepts, because some people you might not from CSS background, right? CSE background, right? So no problem, I will take you from the basics itself in the JavaScript also, but please make sure to do more practice on it. It's an entire programming part, right? This is the basic understanding of like media queries and grid concept. So do you have any doubts regarding this media queries? Please let me know, because it's very important to have a clear idea on these media queries, because in the most of the cases, 99% we use media queries in each and every website, right? Even if you design a small thing, you should use a media queries for some personal, like some changes. అర్థమవుతుందా? So when we specifically use a JavaScript, you should use a media queries. There is no other option. That's how the JavaScript will work. That's how the media queries will help us to give more, better, good website, we can say. అర్థమవుతుందా? So అవిధంగా, so that's why I'm asking that if you have any queries regarding this media queries, please make sure to ask me. At the same time, if you have any doubt regarding this, grid concept, please make sure to ask me. No problem, I'm here to clear your doubts. But don't worry. So I'm planning to design a website, so using like this basic concept, but I'm not getting that much of time. So actually ఇప్పటి వరకు మేము ఎలా అంటే లాస్ట్ క్లాసెస్ జరిగినంత వరకు, లాస్ట్ బ్యాచెస్ లో మోస్ట్లీ we